very much, Cathy. Cathy Disbrow has agreed to be one of our artists on our Spotlight on Artist series. Thank you, Cathy. And we're actually in her home studio right now, which is really cool. We're going to get a chance to learn about her fiber arts area, and then also to look at some of the finished work that she's going to show us. So I'm kind of excited about that myself. But Cathy, why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about needle felting, because I think maybe it's probably a bit mysterious to some people what it's all about. Can you just give us kind of a little rundown?
Yeah, so hi everybody. I basically I started off saying it was sculpting with wool. But like sculpting with wool would be creating a three-dimensional sculpture, right? But then I started getting into felt painting, right? And so felt paintings, this is what I'm working on, right? Is I'm taking a felt sheet, and this is 100% wool, and I'm creating a painting by stabbing wool into the felt, and you can see how it comes through on the other side.
So sculpting gives you a three-dimensional piece, much as sculpting a piece of wood would.
Yeah.
And painting gives you a two-dimensional, but it looks like a little painting.
Yes. And I teach classes, so when I'm teaching, I do say, once we create our core shape, then we paint the actual sculptures as we add the colors on top, right? I'm painting onto the flat onto it, and it helps people visualize better exactly what is going on with the wool sculpture.
Is one more challenging than the other? Like the sculpting or the
it depends on the complexity. I find a lot of people like the painting because it's flat, and they don't stress out so much, like it has to look like something or be dimensional. When you're working on a shape, even though this isn't a real owl, right? It's a stylized version of an owl.
He's lovely. I love him.
People will get like hung up on the wings and the tail, and so it's like two different groups of people.
Okay.
And it's not that everyone chooses one over the other. It's just that I like both. I find felt painting a little more freeing because it's a lot of color blending for me, and I love color blending. I have an illustration background, and so it really comes in handy for this, right?
Almost sounds like what you'd hear a painter say, color blending, but you're doing it with wool.
Yeah. For example, when I work, I work like this. I actually created, I have this custom made for me. It's called a foam easel. What I call it, a foam easel, because I have ergonomic problems. In case anyone was wondering why I it's all up front like this, right? So I don't felt onto that. I just lay my work onto it.
So some people have it in their lap, or?
Well, it would be working like this.
I see.
Okay. And you'd be bent over. I know that some people could get a chair and maybe raise their legs and work, but you're still on your neck, and you put hours into these paintings. I think so far I've put probably about 5 hours into this painting.
Move that a little bit closer to us so we can get a better look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, so lovely. Oh my goodness, the mountains.
This is out of my head. This is just out of my head, which is again where the illustration background comes in handy.
So sometimes you just start and create it out of your head, and other times you follow a pattern or a photo, or how does that work?
So mainly a photo. I don't have patterns. So here's a waterfall. I took this picture last year. It's in Pennsylvania, and so this is the start.
Okay.
Of it, and so I'm interpreting what I'm seeing into a felt painting, and a lot of times as well. So say for a three-dimensional piece, this was I do sketches.
Oh, okay.
So this is a sketch of.
It's like a little hobbit house.
Yeah, like a gnome garden. It goes in a teacup. I have a sample. So here we go. So something like this. Where it's a little.
Isn't that lovely? Yeah, and you've got it all in the teacup.
Yeah.
Now, this is sculptural?
This is sculptural, yes. So it's all dependent on like what we're doing. I'm just trying to see if I can find. Oh, here's So I did a saw wet owl, and you'll see the finished owl in the other room. So I was sketching owls, the breed of owl, to get a better idea of what they look like, and then turn it into a sculptural project.
Right.
And the project that I did was to teach it, so it had to be easy, but yet
Easy for somebody who's not done it before too.
Yeah, like I mean, I would consider the project to be more intermediate, but like again, when I teach classes, like you always get beginners in the intermediate classes, so I always think about the lowest common denominator.
Now, would you have? I think I know the answer to this, but would you have like several projects on the go at the same time?
Yeah, so right now I have the waterfall and this going on. I'm trying to create some more felt paintings. I also make kits, like I design my own kits and then I make the kits. And there's a demand. I'm being asked to make more paint kits.
Okay.
I have quite a few figures. I will not be selling those during the Arts Burlington
Oh,
sale.
you're not going to be selling your kits during the...
Well, no, because our my guild doesn't allow kits for sale.
Okay.
So, but I do have them for sale.
All right, so somebody could get in touch with you.
Yes.
And maybe at some point you could give us your email in case anybody wants to get in touch with you.
Yeah, and I have a YouTube channel where you could watch some free videos to learn how to felt, and I just recently became a YouTube partner, so I actually start to get paid for all the ads people are watching on my videos.
Okay, well, you know what we'll do? We will maybe at the end, if you can give me that information, we'll append it at the end. So if people want to learn more about your courses or your YouTube channel or how to order kits, they can do that. So that's great, Cathy. That's wonderful. So when you think about you've already told us a little bit about how you pick your designs, like from photographs or from your head. But is there anything that influences your choice of materials, or are there any other inspirations for your design?
Right. So I kind of think about what do I want to make, and then I create it. And so like these owls are completely from my brain. I had designed a barn owl that I taught as a class for a while, and I sell them. And then I turned them into a kit. And then I was looking for something that could be a little more less has to look like this and more build your own. So when I create these owls, I have like probably 8 different wool colors that I pull from. So like this color is different from this color, that's different from the beak and the feet color, and then the main body color. Right. So
if I wanted to do one that was all kind of bright pinks and blues and greens, I could.
Exactly.
Nice.
Right. Now, when I'm needle felting, I'm not like super picky with the wool that I use. I have my favorites and I have the ones I don't like. I honestly do not like needle felting with merino. It's very squishy. And
merino wool.
Wool. And then we're talking like merino chunky wool.
Mm-hmm.
Merino is like top coat is great for wet felting.
Right? Oh, wet felting. That sounds like another whole branch.
That's a whole nother branch, and I am not an expert on that, but I like to play, and it's fun. And it's, again, for me, more freeing than needle felting after you've needle felted for like 2 weeks straight, right? It's nice to do something a little different. When it comes to my felt paintings, I am very picky. And the wool that I use, it's called Maori batting.
Maori,
yeah.
You mean like
Maori?
Is that the New Zealand?
It's a blend of Coopworth and Corriedale sheep, and it does come from New Zealand. The fibers are short, and it's very crisscross. It blends well, right? So when I color blend, which I'll show you in a minute, it blends well. It attaches very nicely to the felt sheet. So this is a work in progress. I plan to have this finished for the sale. And so I just find that tacks into the felt sheet better.
So is that how the whole needle felting works? That you're actually compressing the fibers together, or what's the actual action that's happening here?
So every single fiber in wool, right? So we've got like every strand, like every little teeny string that you see has little notches on it or scales, right? So if you saw a close up of it, right, you would see these like little notches on each strand. What we're doing is we're taking a special needle that has little notches in it as well. Now there's probably somewhere around 20 different kinds of needles. The ones I use, when I stab in, it connects the fibers. So if you think of it like it's you're taking the fibers and you're getting them together, and then they stay because they are locking together, right? So when I do a 3-dimensional piece, I actually, this is my studio, right? I have all sorts of skewers and things to use. So if I were, I don't have any wool handy, but actually I do. I've got lots of projects that started but never finished. So I'm just gonna grab. I'll just grab a little bit of this wool and show you. So I'll take a strip of wool. So we'll say like this strip. I'll just put this over here. And in order to get the fibers to stack on top of each other, right? So if you think about it, every little individual fiber is now in a sheet, right? So this is what batting is.
So this isn't how it comes off the sheet, is it, or does it come off the sheet?
No. I don't. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So
it's somewhere in between.
Yeah. So I'll show you this first, and then I'll talk about the sheet. So here we've got right. It's all stacked, and I want to like so we've got like a sheet, right? So we have a sheet of fiber, and I want to stack it. Right, so as I wrap it around the skewer, and you can do this on your pad too, I find you get a really nice tight wrap. So just for demonstration purposes, I'm getting it very, very tight on here. So what I've done is now I've got layers, right, rows of fiber. So when I stab into it, I'm connecting all those rows together. So all the little fibers and all those notches are connecting together, and then you get a nice solid shape.
So this is how you would start with a sculptural piece?
This is how I start with sculptural pieces. I used to just roll them on my pad, and it would stay a bit softer. When I make pumpkins, and tomatoes, I usually leave it. I roll it on the pad instead of because it gets. I don't want it to necessarily be super tight, especially the pumpkins when I want to add the little ribs onto it. As far as sheep go, you see sheep, they look like this.
Right? Yep, there it is.
So they got all the curls on it and everything. So I just have a bag of it. So when they shear a sheep, right, it comes off in what they call a fleece, right? And so here's all like the curls. So once it's sheared off, a lot of times it'll be bunchy like this, but very poopy and stinky, right? There's a lot of lanolin in sheep wool. Alpaca doesn't have lanolin, and it's what do they call hyperallergenic. So it doesn't scratch you because the fibers are a bit different. They still have little notches, but it's a different type of fiber, right? So once they shear it, then they have to soak it probably 2 or 3 times. They have to wash the wool. And for those of us who like the locks, this is the most expensive part of needle felting. And so I would then, as I slowly pull it apart, I would have, of course my scissors aren't here, I would be taking scissors and I would be cutting what I call little spider webbing so that I don't rip and pull the locks apart, or else I'm going to wind up with just this stuff. And this is the most expensive part of felting that I've found. Merino can be
so
pricey.
So the materials you're using are pretty close to how it comes off the sheep. It's not overly processed from.
Well, and when you're working with something like this, then it's carded, so they get rid of the right. So they pick it, they get rid of all the like little bits and stuff, and then they card it. And this is machine all through a machine and stuff like that, right? And then they dye it, right? So I've been doing some of my own dyeing and things, and it's fun, but it's time consuming.
Okay.
So like, when you're looking at pricing with things, right, it's like, okay, like how much did the core wool cost me? And that would just be like more of a denser, maybe just natural white, tends to usually be half the price of
some of this all
some
that
of
nicely
this
dyed
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah, right. So so I have dyed my own wool, but then you have to be careful with, you can't really agitate it a lot or it'll felt and things like that. So you may have to go and hand card, or like here's a. I also ship items and things. So this is like a set of hand carders. And like you could use a drum carder.
It looks like something the pioneers would have used.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Like I'm still learning how to use the big ones, but I have a set of smaller ones that I use for when I blend wool together. Right?
Oh,
So
little mini ones, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's how I would like take wool, and I would just kind of, it would help me blend things a little bit if I was doing like a large amount, right? So
Well, we definitely want to reserve some time here to look at some of your finished products, and particularly ones that you're going to be getting ready for the sale, the Arts Burlington sale. So can we go into the other room and take a look at those now?
Sure. Did you want to just have a quick look at me stabbing stuff in, or do you feel like you got the
yeah,
idea?
Sure. Yeah. Why don't you just do a little bit of the stabbing, so we've kind of have that technique.
Okay. So. I'll rotate to you. So basically, I'm just laying some of the wool down. I don't know if you could hear the stabbing.
I think we can.
Right, and so like here you'll be able to see it better if I lay something down, and I just stabbing it on. And if I want to like have a sharper edge, I just make sure that I'm pushing those fibers around the edge in, and I can still shape it. This is when I'm painting. I see I can still shape it to do what I want.
Do you ever stab yourself?
I always. When I'm tired, when I'm rushing, I always stab myself. So that's just a bit of how it happens, and then I pull it up off my pad, and you can see the fibers poking through.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right, and so if I'm working on like say a 3-dimensional shape, right, it's similar, right, where I'm stabbing it and shaping it, and in this case I added the head separately from the body and I wrapped wool around it, and this is before I would add the color on top. So like I would be using a thinner piece, but you could see how putting the colors the detail, on. Yeah, like I wouldn't use such a big piece, but like it just so you can see it real quick, right?
Okay, well, thank you. Let's go take a look at some of the finished pieces. All right, this is great. We're going to get a look at some of the actual products that you're preparing for the sale. I'll just let you go ahead and tell us about some of them.
Okay, so for the sale, I'm going to have a mix of some of my sculptural elements and my painted elements. For first, I'll just show you like here's some of my mushrooms. I added a little ladybug on top because it's cuter that way. But this is actually a mushroom I live right near a cemetery, and there's under all the old oak trees after we have like a nice rain and stuff. I see these are native mushrooms. So that's why it is bright, and I think you can eat them, but I'm not going to attempt that.
They're beautiful.
Thank you. So I usually do a lot of one-offs. I don't typically sell a lot of things like, I multiple made, right? Because everything's handmade. And when I make things to sell, it's more of like I just wanted to try something, or I wanted to make something, right? So like this bunny here, it's made with all Ontario wool. And it was probably done with a demonstration, and then I finish it like when I teach classes. A lot of times I have leftovers, so I did use the curly locks to cover the body, and this is my own design. And same like with this bunny, the carrot does come out, right? So this this is one I used to teach as a class. I've retired the project, but it will sit, and it's a lot of fun. It's nice when you can sit. Yeah, I don't know why I wore this. I keep knocking everything over. Yeah, and so like I did a little squirrel. I got a little squirrel, and I have.
He looks almost life size.
He might be. Yeah, I mean he's definitely cartoony. Like he's not a real squirrel, like, but he's a cartoony squirrel. I should stress that like my stuff is art, needle felted pieces. Kids will rip it apart. Dogs and cats also like to chew on felted stuff. So, like, if you are going to buy it for, say, a child, I would say that they should be a little bit older, just because I gave an owl to a 4-year-old, and he ripped the wings off like right away. Like, so they're a little bit delicate sometimes. And so this is, I have the Scarlet Tanager is at the art gallery in the window display. But the birds do come out of their nests.
And you got real feathers in there.
And there's real feathers in there, yeah. And so this is an indigo bunting, and I have a Scarlet Tanager that's right now on display, but it will be for sale. These will both be in the sale, yeah.
I love the feathers.
Thank you. Yeah, the nests are nice. I will have nests. I don't have any nests. No, he's downstairs. And then I have paintings for sale. So this is my winter scene. You saw me working on the summer version of it. So this is the winter one. I do keep them in the frame, so the frames will be with the different projects. Here's a butterfly that I did. Right. So if you buy these, they will come with the frames. And then I have some flowers. I'll have some flowers.
It's like a tiger lily.
It's a one-day lily, but yeah, I mean, if you added some spots to it, I think that makes it very, yeah, you can make anything, right? Like for that. And then I have this fall scene, which I particularly am a huge fall person, so I love doing fall things. See?
So you're gonna have some of your felt paintings and your sculpture work on sale.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, and and I think that's all I have. I'll probably be selling. There'll just be a variety of things that I'll have for sale, and of course they'll be all surrounded by beautiful weavings and spinnings and.
Well, thank you very much for taking time to inviting us into your studio in your home, and for taking time to show us some of the things you're working on, and also for giving us such a good little primer explanation on needle felting. That was terrific. I learned a lot myself.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for having me.
All right, thanks, Cathy.